So by now, you've probably realized a few things that you didn't know when you started. Now, some of these menus probably didn't make a whole lot of sense when you first started, but they certainly are making sense now because some of you probably actually made it out to Deep Sands where you've realized you're not alone, even though you paid for a private server. So this video, the intent of this video is to go through that mid-level game experience, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, primarily around the deluminium, which is pretty much the last resource you can mine in the safe zone or in your private server safe zone. So step by step, and you can skip through each chapter. Feel free. But I'm going to cover each of the sections, some of the things that I've learned. And we'll come back to this screen. And by the way, if you like this video, please hit the like button. It helps the channel. You don't have to subscribe. Just hit the like button so that others that brought you out to find information about the game because you don't know what to do next, that others can find that too. And this is all stuff that I've found either through research or just found out on my own. So if you hit that like button, I'd certainly appreciate it. So having said that, got all the formalities out of the way, let's take a look at the individual player skill sets. This is the first thing I'm going to cover. So by now you've probably, if you haven't, you should have talked to all the trainers and done their quests to unlock all these skill trees. A lot of recommendations I see from videos is to not spread skills around. Well, unfortunately, I disagree with that. And here's why. All these circle skills, these are passive abilities. And depending on whether you're a swordsman or a rifle focusing, whatever your focus is, there's some really good skill sets or passive skills that give bonuses to, say, rifle or swordsman, or heal regen. So I've kind of, even though I've had to unlock some of these triangles, which go into your abilities, and the hexagon, octagon, whatever that is, need to go into techniques in order to be active. But I've kind of picked and missed and matched. I use the passive healing ability, which is nice. It gives you extra health. And I've used a combination of pretty much everybody, depending on where I'm going, what type of situation I'm going to be getting into. I may change these techniques and abilities to suit that particular mission. So definitely want to focus around getting these unlocked at least until the first level in, and then go back and visit to progress them further once, because honestly, folks, the skills just keep flowing in, especially if you're doing the faction quest. Picking a side, you're going to level left and right. You average about 2 levels, as you've noticed. A lot of you know this, just doing one mission. So enough about the abilities. I'm not going to go into what build is better because honestly, it really boils down to what kind of character, what gameplay you have, and not me. So let's move to the next section. So the second piece of this, we're going to talk about the skills, the specs, as far as your unlocks, the tech tree. One of the important, if you did the initial quest, obviously you now have the ability to build the morgue of Freeman. What are they called? I don't even know. So, and you might, this is a thing I ran into. If you have water storage or too much water storage, you probably see this insufficient water storage space when you go to put a corpse in. That's because there's nowhere for the water to go. Why it doesn't stack up, I have no idea. With blood, it'll actually store it. But for some reason with the beds, as far as these, what are they called? Freeman death stills. And there's 2 levels of them. They won't take a corpse just because it's empty. You can't queue them up like you can with blood, where you can fill it up and it'll just pause processing when you run out of water. So as we go in and we start looking at some of these research, the first thing I focused on is getting these bigger mid-level and large stations, because they're going to be more efficient, and you're not going to have a level like this of 1 million fuel powered generators. It's ridiculous. So that's one of my goals, is to actually cut those down using wind power, which is pretty efficient. And there's also a spice generator. Now, the first thing I unlocked was the large water cistern. That's helped me immensely as far as water capacity. You're going to be using a lot of water, especially for mining, processing the ore. Aluminum ingots use a insane amount of water. It's 500 per. This is just insanity. So water is a constant challenge for me. Even when I started out having almost an endless water supply, just using the water that is generated through the wind turns, these guys. So these are the powers, the wind turbine. Obviously, I want to upgrade those to the next tier. And these, which actually use the wind and filter out the water from the air. How that works, I have no idea. I don't know how moisture gets into the air of Dune, but it does. So we take advantage of that. It's not a huge amount of water. But once I upgrade these, it's probably going to be significantly more. We'll find out. So let's go back to that research tree. So again, construction's super important, and you want to get it at least to where you can make the items that are in this zone without going into deep sand. Going into deep sand, you're going to want at least a tier 3 ornithopter to make sure you can A, either outrun an enemy if you're attacked, or B, engage them. That option is obviously up to you. If you feel like you have an upper hand, take that shot. Awesome. But yeah, deep sand is an interesting zone. A lot of great resources to be gained out there. It's just getting out alive can sometimes be challenging, especially if you're not in a guild and you're playing solo. So the third thing we're going to talk about is actually your base. So if your base of operation is in a PvE zone, it's not really necessary to worry about what the building materials are building out your walls. But if you're building temporary bases out in the deep sand, that obviously if you have built out there, you know that they get destroyed by a storm periodically. I believe it's once a week or once a month. I can't remember. But there is a notification that warns all the players that the storm is coming and how many days it is away. But it's nice to have a base out there to be able to farm the resources that are available to you in the deep zone, and still defend your base. And I know I'm the ugliest builder on the planet. I don't claim to be an architect, and therefore you're looking at a really crappy looking build. The other piece is the size of the base. Obviously, with these bigger machines, it's going to take a lot more real estate. Your little 4x4 or 8x8 base of operation is just no longer going to support all the different real estate you're going to need. You can increase those if you may or may not know this with the vertical stocking unit and the stocking unit for building tools. One gives you more area of building. The other one allows you to build vertically, higher or lower. I've taken advantage of this in the Rift, allowing me to build a tower all the way where I can literally drive with a series of ramps down into the Rift without trying to figure out or getting to the 5 exit points for the Rift. So those are the two things that I've taken advantage of already in the game. A couple more things and then we'll move away from the base. But the other thing I've done is I make sure that if I sort by tier, in each one of these respective slots, like the welding torch, I'm always using the highest level tier that I can use to minimize either the damage that it does to your vehicle and repairing, or the amount of resources that it can collect. So still rocking a tier 3 buggy, but using a tier 4 drill and soon a tier 5 drill just for the efficiency of the material that I'm trying to mine. So the fifth thing I highly recommend, most of you have probably already had the unfortunate incident where you've either had your buggy or your ornithopter swallowed by a worm because you were too greedy to fly out, or you've rolled a buggy into quicksand. But the worst is the worm, because you lose everything, the vehicle, all your inventory, everything. It's a complete wipe. Or if you've been killed in PvP, you've been completely looted. The one thing I make sure, it's kind of hard to see in this chest because I have chests everywhere, is making sure that I have at least 2 stacks of everything for the main equipment that I use. The way I check that is I go to each of the stations and make sure that I have the inventory, that I can replace a buggy, I can replace all of my inventory, all of my tools, and that doesn't completely take away the pain of a death, but it certainly makes it less painful when you're almost back to square one as far as your equipment and your vehicles. So I can't overstate that enough. Make sure you have the ability to get back up and running without going and farming by hand all of the equipment that you need and use during your gameplay. So the other thing to talk about is the exchange. There's 2 main cities that have an open player exchange, even on a private server. So in any of these travel bases,
can I fly you somewhere today?
Probably noticed some destinations.
Where do you want to go?
That are outside the Hagga Basin.
Well, the Harkonnens look. Oh, all right.
It is a little bit more expensive to travel to these areas, but it's profitable if you plan on buying what's available in the deep sands area instead of going out and resourcing it yourself. A lot of times there's players that no longer want to farm low-end resources like aluminum and I can't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. And these facilities are quite large. But we'll take a look at the exchange. So unfortunately I got caught into a storyline because I had not been to this base. I normally go to the other one. So I have to finish this and get out of here.
Hypnoligation. This prisoner was deliberately layered with a compulsion, and my face is the trigger. Enough of this. So a mystery within a mystery. Who did this to our prisoner and why? And what does it have to do with Zantara the Lion? Bring them.
So I got through the bit of storyline. Apologies for that. Had no idea that was going to happen. But these are the stations. If you look on the map, they're usually marked exchange. There's also a guild bank if you want to store the hundreds of thousands of coin that you've accumulated. This is where you protect your precious gold, especially if you're in a PvP area and you get ransacked. But they look like these little terminals, and this is where you can buy and sell based on what you have versus what you want to buy. And you can actually buy some of the equipment that requires material from the deep sand without even going there. Now, you're gonna have to use your own judgment on the prices. I've seen players selling random broken things for 10,000 coin. It can be a little ridiculous. But this is where you can go in and you can actually go and bring a complete inventory full of some of those low tier resources that players just no longer want to farm. So I'm hoping Funcom makes it a little easier. As you can see, finding a component in here is almost impossible. There is different categories, and depending on how popular or populated your server is going to have some impact on what resources you can find. But there's no easy way to just type in spice or a name key phrase and get a return right now. So I have sold some stacks of aluminum, 2 or 300,000, but the problem is the players either A, don't use this, or B, they just can't find it. So hopefully you're on a more active server and you don't find crap like this where someone's selling an almost destroyed hydration tool for 5,000. But anyway, take advantage of this and put a sample of maybe 10,000 of a particular, whatever you can carry, to put in the market and see how well it does for you. So another noteworthy thing, there are different vendors in here that sell low tier blueprints, you name it. There's vendors in here that sell it. It is expensive, but there's also some parts that are or components that are hard to find. But unfortunately they are also extremely overpriced. But just so happens I need 5 of these for something I want to build today, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I might have to go to the bank. I don't even think they have that many. But you can keep returning until you get the amount you want. So hopefully you found this video helpful in just identifying what to do, what not to do. And I hope you're enjoying the game as much as I am. It is exciting. It's a bit of a grind. I have noticed that Funcom is making adjustments. My last recommendation is to check the patch notes. They are making significant changes, some of which are popular, some of them not so popular. So anyway, that's the end of the video. If you did find this useful, please hit that like button. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.